This week we're off to somewhere I've never been, in real life and in my mugland. Let's all go to Ecuador!
My name is Steve Layton, and I travel the world finding amazing and delicious coffee for you to drink at home. Some make coffee difficult to understand and complicated, but here it's my job to make it easy and fun and tell you what's in my mug.
So this farm is located in the Amazon rainforest in the southeastern part of Ecuador in the province called Zamora Chinchipe. I'm pronouncing that terribly, aren't I? And it's home to the Hilda's farm. Hilda's farm is 10 hectares in total, 7 virgin forest with native trees and 3 are where they grow coffee. In the region there's more than 160 different bird species which migrate from farm to farm looking for habitat where they can go and kind of sit and find new food and new nesting areas. It's a remote and exotic location and it's fairly unique for its very privileged biodiversity and microclimates. The passionate and experienced producers take this geographic location, the climatic conditions, the rich soil, and their skills come together in a perfect mix to produce this extraordinary coffee. Although there is a lack of education in specialty coffee in Ecuador, our experts are working very closely with the group, giving them education and letting them explore the huge potential of this coffee in this region. And they're working towards giving them the tools and the education that they need to produce better coffee. Hilda is part of an association called ACRIM, and ACRIM believes that the sustainable progress and development of communities can only be done by getting together and working as a team while respecting the environment together. And that's something that's very key to the fundamentals of our exporters' work and ACRIM. So why don't we go and cup this coffee, because I'm sick of talking about it, I really want to taste it. Okay, so I'm here got the cupping bowl ready. It's just gone 4 minutes. So I'm going to break the crust, stirring it 3 times. Doesn't matter how many times as long as you're always exactly the same amount. Same with the time. 4 minutes is what I do. I've seen other people use 3. They're wrong. I'm right. But as long as you always do the same, they're not quite as wrong as they could be. So, I've cleaned off the crust. I'm going to get the spoon in there. Now, luckily for me, I have an asbestos mouth, which means I can taste it while it's hot, and I can also taste it while it's cold. If you may not be so lucky, so be careful, try, make sure it's not too hot for you before you go, but I know I'm going to be okay, because I'm very tough. It's also very cold in here, so it helps the temperature of the cup drop quite quickly. So the first thing you notice on the flavour is brown sugar. It's that kind of toasted, kind of caramelised, kind of toffee, brown sugary flavour that is very, very dominant. I've been looking for an Ecuador for I don't know how long. Every time we found one, I've not been happy with it, not been good enough. This one jumped out because of this sweetness. But not only that, it has a really good green apple acidity. By that, you know, the tartness, the kind of way that it covers the tongue. It's also a memory as well as a flavour. And it finishes with a really clean and sharp watermelon for me. I scored this coffee in 89. I think it's the highest score in Ecuador I've ever scored. And really, really good that we've got this and really enjoying it. Ecuador is one of the world's most biologically diverse countries, despite its incredibly small size. The only thing I could find to match it up against was Colorado, the US state. There seems to be some obsession with using US states to measure stuff. But there are over 1,500 bird species and roughly 1/6 of all the bird species in the world. Not only is it ranked 5th in the total bird species, but it's 7th in reptiles, 3rd in amphibians, and 6th in butterflies. In fact, Ecuador has 4 times the plant and animal species for the entirety of Europe, and the largest number of plant species per unit of area in the Americas. Unfortunately, deforestation is occurring at an alarming rate. Today, 6% of the country's tropical forests remain. Coffee was introduced into Ecuador in the early 19th century and remained one of Ecuador's top export crops through the 1970s. Today, the top exports are oil, shrimp and bananas. Arabica is produced in the western foothills of the Andes, south of Guayaquil. And these hilly areas near to the coastal Manab province. In the north, it tends to be much more robusta varieties that's used for instant stroke soluble coffee. Most Ecuadorian coffee is grown on really small farms, between 1 and 10 hectares, which is quite similar to neighbouring Colombia. And about half the land is planted with coffee, and the rest tends to be planted with things like cacao, citrus fruits, bananas, mangoes, things that can be consumed by themselves. The decline in Ecuador's coffee production began in the 80s as the amount of land in cultivation began falling, and also because of low coffee prices. Coffee was just going unharvested and farms are abandoned. Production has decreased significantly in terms of world production, and Ecuador now only accounts for less than 1% of the total coffee produced. And income from coffee has diminished as well, especially considering the drop in international prices over that time and those falling production levels. So we've got the coffee ready to taste, but before we do that, I wanted to show you this, as this is this month's Barista magazine with our very own Dale Harris on the end. I'm not sure why underneath his trophy it says sexual harassment plus relationship policies, right under the picture of him. That may be a coincidence, it may be not, who knows. But no, congratulations to Dale for making the cover of a magazine. Grace Kelly, Harlow Jean, picture of a beauty. Okay, let's try drink some coffee. I think I'm going quite delirious. So we've used the Clever Dripper today, very kindly brewed for me by Roland. I don't know why he's been kind to me. It's very unnerving and unsettling. And in one of my favourite Sinclair C5 mugs, for those who don't know, I own 2 of these. One with an engine in that will make it do about 35 miles an hour, and one that is a traditional one that I'm still waiting for some people to fix up for me. So in the cupping, I got that brown sugar, and in the cup, you get it even more. It is full of brown sugar. In fact, it's so dominant, it's almost to the detriment of everything else. There's a little bit of toffee, and there's a little bit of that watermelon, but like, it's brown sugar. Isn't that a Rolling Stones song? I won't sing, I promise. But it really is all brown sugar in there. Clever Dripper, what do I think of it as a brewing method? It's kind of fun, nothing clever about it. But it's kind of fun, it's a cheap way of brewing. It's good if you're traveling because it's plastic. Plastic don't break as easily in your luggage. But it is a little bit bulky and you do require the papers. So pluses and minuses for it, but I kind of quite like it, and it's brewed this pretty well. Listen, thank you for watching, thank you for joining me. Do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.